Hello, everybody, and welcome to MCV's annual gala, virtual this year, and we appreciate everybody taking a little bit of time. I am here in MCV's headquarters in beautiful Billings, Montana, with a few guests, including Marshall and our MCV Education Fund intern, Clara Stein. She's helping with the technical pieces of this presentation. And of course, our office manager, Christy McNeish. She is here with a bucket full of hundreds of raffle tickets that we will be drawing this evening. 10 lucky winners will be able to choose prizes, and it's going to be a lot of fun this evening. So you're in for a treat this evening. We've got presentations from Chef Doug Adams of Top Chef. He is very closely connected to Montana. We'll have a live presentation for us on how to cook a Montana-specific meal. We'll hear from Kendra Shaw, Billings City Councilwoman, who will talk about her journey to public service with the help of MCV. But I also want to start this evening with some news because we're very excited about it here at MCV, and that is where William Perry Penley is today. He is still at the Bureau of Land Management. As many of you know, last week a judge decided that William Perry Penley was unfit to serve as acting director of the BLM because his service was unconstitutional. He's been there for 424 days without Senate confirmation. We have for more than a year been sounding the alarm about that. And finally, Friday, we've got some resolution to that. So pressure works, accountability works. We actually sent a letter to Senator Daines this week, asking him to hold an oversight hearing in his committee to make sure that unconstitutional directors of agencies like the BLM, when somebody like William Perry Penley, who is opposed to our public lands, can't serve there indefinitely again. We shall see. Anyway, we'll cover that, a lot of other really exciting things this evening. But first, I'd like to start with an introduction of one of MCV's newest members, along with our board of directors.
Hey everyone, I'm Shelly Sidlizak, MCV and the Ed Fund Development Director, joining you from Paradise Valley. Thank you all for attending our first ever virtual gala, and thanks for all of your generous support tonight and throughout the year. Simply put, we could not do any of our work without you. Thank you. I also want to give a huge shout out to our volunteer board of directors who work tirelessly behind the scenes in support of our mission. It's an honor to work with such a committed group of individuals, and I'm excited to introduce them to you now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clint Summers. I'm a member and a director with the Montana Conservation Voters, and I started that journey with this organization in 2020. And I want to give a demonstration of why I feel like it was important for me to be a part of this organization and why I feel like other people should be a part of it. I'm going to introduce you to my son Daxton. All right, we're on the hills above Missoula. Ready? Yeah. Mark, you set, go. For future generations, protecting our environment, protecting our access is all about making sure that my grandchildren will be able to kick his ass someday.
Why am I on the MCV board? Maybe it's the dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of elected conservation champions that MCV has put in across the state and in legislative seats since 2000.
I'm Jock Cunningham. I'm board chair of Montana Conservation Voters. Have been for nearly 2 years. Why do I put my efforts there? Because of this. This is some of Montana's public land, over 27 million acres, right on the edge of a wilderness area of nearly 1 million acres.
Hey there, Robin Saha here, sitting up on my roof next to my solar panels. Just thinking about how grateful I am for MCV, for all the work it's done to get our elected officials working on climate change, producing real results like our net metering laws, allow me to give back to the grid my excess energy and lower my carbon footprint in the meantime.
I was one of the founders of Montana Conservation Voters over 20 years ago and have been involved with them ever since. We decided to start MCV because we were tired of banging against a brick wall from politicians who didn't seem to understand the values that were important to Montana. Ever since then, MCV and the Ed Fund have worked to educate voters as well as candidates and elected officials about those important issues.
I got involved because of the awesome staff work that MCV is known for.
What drew me to MCV was their accountability work
and that I think they can really pack a punch getting conservation-minded candidates into office.
I'm really thrilled to be part of MCV because it's an awesome organization, great team, gets really good work done, and thank you all very, very much for your support.
And at this time when we find ourselves indoors a little more than we might like, I see a clear reason to contribute in a really important value in clean air and clean water in our public land so that we all have an equal chance to get outside and enjoy the outdoors.
Or maybe it was, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2018, when MCV helped elect conservation champions in the form of Brian Schweitzer, John Tester, and Steve Koenig.
Hi, I'm Jill Lombardi, PAC board chair and a fourth-generation Montanan. When we moved back to Montana a couple years ago, I swore that I wouldn't do anything outside of my day job involving politics, but when Murph took over as executive director of Montana Conservation Voters, and I saw some of the other people that I really admire as board members and staff, I knew that I wanted to get involved. I was also told that it would help my fly fishing skills, but so far that has proven to be incorrect.
This land is under threat like it never has been. Both directly, people who want to sell it, part of the Republican Party's platform in Montana. There's a lot to fight for. And I want to thank you for being a part of our gala and give us a chance to talk about what we do. Thank you.
We don't need any more reminders about climate change than that smoke that just rolled through here from Oregon and Washington. It's the issue of our time.
I have enough gray hair. I don't need more politicians making more bad votes and giving me more.
Or maybe it's the week in, week out work that MCV does at every single legislative session, grinding it out, letting legislators and the public know the good, the bad, and the ugly of all the bills that are coming before the session. Or maybe it's because MCV are my three favorite things: Montana, conservation, and voters. Yeah.
Let's face it, being on the board of MCV or the MCV education is fun, isn't it? In that video, you saw our board chairman, Jock Cunningham. Elk fear him this time of year. So does any elected leader who thinks they can undermine our public lands. You may have also seen Jock on TV and internet ads. He starred in quite a few of them recently, including a TV ad we'll talk about a bit later, one of the most impactful campaigns I've ever been a part of. But first, I want to bring Jock back for a few more words.
Good evening, and thank you for being here with us. We want to thank the night's major sponsors. They include Jeff Forbes and Forbes Tate Partners, the League of Conservation Voters, where I got this dapper lid, Hilltop Public Solutions, the Inova Foundation, the Choate family, Robin Tawny Nichols, and William Nichols. Thanks so much. And thanks to all of our donors and sponsors. MCV hopes you'll recognize our business sponsors with your patronage. This is the most consequential election of our time, of generations, and MCV's going in hot. So I'll look all you generous people in the eye and see if you're considering any further generosity. Now is the time, because now is our time. MCV will be leaving it all on the field with this election. Thanks so much. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks, Jock. We love that dapper lid, by the way. Please note, Jock is modest, and his name is also on that list. Thank you too, Jock, for all you do for this organization. One of this year's most generous contributions comes from a stalwart in the conservation movement, the late Jim Posewitz. Mr. Posewitz is tonight's legacy sponsor, and we are proud to say that we are dedicating this year's gala in his honor. Here is MCV's Deputy Director, Whitney Tawney, with a look back on a lifelong friend and mentor.
This year's MCV Gala is in honor of the late Jim Posewitz, one of Montana's most respected conservationists. Jim pioneered protections for fish and wildlife and was a nationally recognized voice on the ethics of hunting. The Happy Warrior, also known as Paz, worked for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for more than 3 decades, protecting our right to a clean and healthful environment. He wrote more than 6 books guiding new hunters on ethics and their critical role in protecting our most special places, plus a biography on Teddy Roosevelt and his own autobiography titled My Best Shot. Paz also founded the Orion Institute and was a founding member of the Cinnabar Foundation, Helena Hunters and Anglers Association, the Teller Wildlife Refuge, the Forever Wild Endowment, and the Montana Outdoor Hall of Fame. Paz also received MCV's Conservation Champion Award in 2012. Despite illness that plagued his last few years, Paz continued to fight on critical conservation issues facing Montana, including his final opinion piece that ran statewide about his concerns over the Black Butte copper mine near the beloved Smith River's headwaters. Paz touched so many lives in Montana and across the West and country. We'll miss his forever glass-half-full outlook and steadfast counsel on life and all things conservation. We also want to note the great loss to his family and recognize their commitment to conservation and working to continue Paz's legacy. We at MCV are grateful for his support, his mentorship, and his high standards, and we look forward to honoring his life in our work. Here's to you, old friend. You're looking good.
When we talk about the things that most Montanans value, it's the things that we have failed to exploit, the things we have nurtured, preserved, and restored that give us our greatest sense of pride. A Montana with wild places for the next generation to be young in.
Our thanks and deep appreciation to Mr. Pazowitz and his wonderful family. We appreciate all you do. Today, we are exactly 33 days from Election Day, and it's also 8 days from when most Montanans will start receiving their ballots in the mail. Our message to you, vote early. Know where your ballot drop boxes are. Make sure your friends and family do too. But of course, this year especially, we can take nothing for granted, so get your ballots in early. We'll hear from our candidates in just a minute, but first, 10 lucky winners tonight will win 10 very generous raffle prizes donated by our friends, our board members, and our business partners.
Tonight, thanks to several generous supporters and businesses, MCV will raffle off 10 remarkable prizes. We sold hundreds of tickets and we will draw them live and at random throughout the program this evening. No matter who wins, we thank all of you for purchasing your tickets. Your purchase directly benefits MCV and the work we do. We'd also like you to note the businesses and individuals who donated these items. Please join us in thanking them and in supporting them. At this point, you might be asking, why are we watching a video of some random pub in Limerick, Ireland? Well, lads and lasses, it's because I've decided to take you on a poetic tour of our 10 raffle prizes for 2020. Tonight, you're in for a treat. A Top Chef cooking lesson you can eat. A class with Doug will put a smile on your mug. You and 5 friends will say, sweet. So maybe you don't win the Top Chef meal, but let's not let that change the way you feel. Give a nod to this Winston Fly rod, complete with a Lamson remix reel. Who doesn't love a getaway soak, especially after all that wildfire smoke? Plus a meal for 2 and books for you too, a weekend at Chico for you and your bloke. At this point, let's give a shout out to the fine art PJ Smith knows about. This one's rather small scale, but not even for sale. It's a portrait of a cutthroat trout. When hunting, we get out in the sticks, and we surely get our public lands fix. From Ryan and Jock comes this barrel and stock. It's a fine Kimber 30-06. For your feet's sake, we hope you don't lose this price that's sure to amuse. From Oboe's Footwear, your business please put there. Win this and pick out your own shoes. Guided fishing on the Yellowstone River. Sweetwater Travel is a generous giver. And Dan Vermillion is 1 in a billion. Next summer, you'll be a fly fishing lover. Tom Murphy has a professional eye. He's a photographer, naturalist kind of guy. With a talent for pictures, be sure to get yours. These 3 prints you don't have to buy. Here's a lithograph from Parks Reese, a blue nighttime scene to bring peace. Shoot for the moon, you could win this soon, and your fine art collection will increase. And finally, I just helped John Tester write a book. Please, pretty please, take a look. It's 406 pages, won't take you ages. After lunch, curl up with Grounded in a nook. Good luck to all of you who purchased hundreds of raffle tickets, and more importantly, thank you.
Hey, beats dad jokes, right? Anyway, let's get right to our first 2 raffle winners, and here's how this works. Over the next few minutes, we'll draw 10 tickets from the bucket at random. Each ticket will be assigned a position. Position 1, which we will draw last, gets the first pick of our raffle prizes. Position 2 will get the second choice. And to keep things interesting, we're going to draw backwards. That means the position 10 winner, which we're about to draw, we'll get whatever's left of the prizes after the first 9 winners pick their prizes. No, you don't have to be present to win, and we'll follow up individually with the winners. So our own Christy McNish is here to stir the pot. Christy, hello.
Hello, I love stirring the pot. Just kidding.
We've had hundreds of people buy tickets, and we're very excited to draw. We are drawing at random. If you purchased tickets for this raffle drawing, your name is in this bucket. And so our very first winner, drawn at random, is Carla Rechtig. We'll have to double check that name, but Carla is from Maryland. No, looks like Cheverly, Maryland. All right. Congratulations to Carla. All right. And the second ticket that we're drawing, which is position 9, will go to Lee Choate. Lee Choate. Congratulations to Lee.
Congratulations.
All right. We'll draw more in a few minutes. Congrats to you both. Again, we will follow up with the winners, and we have 8 more prizes to go, so don't worry. With Election Day less than 5 weeks away, MCV is doing its part educating, engaging, and empowering Montana voters, and we're doing it despite the COVID-19 pandemic. So now I'd like to introduce you to the newest member of MCV's team and our endorsed candidates.
Hello everyone, I am Eddie Upshaw, the Campus Director for MCV. I joined MCV here this summer for the Mayor Pete Buttigieg campaign by way of Organizing 2020. We are a team of myself plus 7 organizers trying to make a difference in conservation. While MCV normally specializes in door-to-door voter turnout and education, we had to be more creative this year due to the restrictions placed on us by the coronavirus. My team and I are using various techniques to advance MCV's important agenda. We are burning the phone lines every day to get out the message. On behalf of the virtual field team, I'd like to thank you for voting and making this work possible. We have less than 40 days to go. Let's vote.
Hey, Steve Bullock here, and I'm so glad to be joining you in supporting Montana conservation voters this evening.
Thank you, MCV.
Hey folks, Shane Morjo here.
Hello, fellow fans of MCV. It's a great honor to be with you today, friends, colleagues, and fellow advocates for our outdoor heritage.
Hey everybody, it's Rafe Graybill running for Attorney General. You know, it is so good to be here with you tonight. I wish we could meet in person. I have so many good memories of last year in Livingston. We had such a great event, and I really hope that next year we can get together in person as well. But this year is really important, and I want to talk to you about how important the work that MCV is doing and how your contributions make a big difference to this organization. Look, we all know that the threat to our public lands, to our environment, to conservation is real, and it's imminent in Montana right now. And it comes primarily from 2 sources. One, it comes from a federal government that is at best asleep, and at worst is actively working against us. And I can think of no better case in point than the case of William Perry Penley, that anti-public lands zealot who happens to administer America's public lands at the top of the BLM. Well, I'm proud to be lead counsel in a case suing William Perry Penley to get a federal judge to stop his tenure running America's public lands. And every step of the way in that case, it's been MCV that's by our side, MCV backing us up.
I'd like to give a big thank you to Murph and the entire gang at MCV for everything you do for our state. You know, as Montanans, we know one of our greatest responsibilities is to protect our public lands and provide clean air and clean water for future generations. I take that responsibility very seriously, and I know that Montana conservation voters does too. Montanans know climate change is happening. We can see it in front of our very own eyes. Increasing wildfires, shrinking glaciers, and shorter harvest seasons are wreaking havoc on our outdoor way of life. When it comes to climate change, Montanans can either lead or we can follow. I choose to lead, and as your governor, I'll do everything I can to make sure our outdoor heritage is protected and left in better shape for generations to come.
Hey folks, Bryce Bennett here, your MCV endorsed candidate for Secretary of State. It is an honor to have the endorsement of Montana conservation voters because it means a lot more than a few words on a campaign flyer. It lets Montanans know your values. It tells them that you'll fight for clean air and clean water. It tells them that you'll defend access to our public lands. It tells them that you'll protect our favorite places to hike, hunt, fish, and explore, not just today, but for generations to come. I'm in this race to ensure that every eligible Montana voter can cast a ballot and have their voice heard and restore leadership to Montana's land board.
MCV is an essential partner in the fight to protect our state's incredible public lands, a fight that I know is near and dear to the hearts of everyone on this call.
And you know what's great? Every one of us own these public lands.
The work that MCV does is crucial to making sure that up and down the ballot, we're electing advocates for Montana's wild places who won't stand for attempts to strip protections or sell off these natural treasures to the highest bidder. In partnership with MCV, we are finally able to secure permanent funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Some folks, like Senator Daines, hopped on the LWCF bandwagon in election year just to try to hide their terrible record on public lands from Montana voters. But unlike these folks, MCV's been there with us in this fight every single step of the way. And they're showing up to the fight again as we take on public land enemies like William Perry Penley at the Bureau of Land Management. Washington, D.C. politicians aren't going to stop attacking our natural heritage, but I won't ever stop protecting Montana's rivers, streams, and lands. And I'm thankful to know that I can rely on folks like MCV as we push back and fight to protect public access and preserve Montana's public lands through efforts like the Blackfoot Clearwater Stewardship Act, which my opponent does not support. We also need to address the challenge of climate change by securing investments in strategies like renewable energy development. During my time as governor, installed solar capacity in Montana has quadrupled. Wind generation has doubled, and we have the same amount in the pipeline.
These last few months have really shown us how fortunate we are to live somewhere that allows us to escape the hustle and bustle of life or the stress of being cooped up in the house for way too long. We're fortunate, but we're not lucky. We have MCV looking out for all of us. It's MCV that's doing the tiresome, thankless, and often overlooked work of protecting our beautiful state, now more than ever. We need advocates working to protect our public lands for generations to come and fighting for access for all Montanans.
I'm proud to have a 100% rating with Montana conservation voters, and I'm proud to be endorsed by MCV. It's critically important that we continue to support MCV moving forward because they actually hold elected officials accountable when it comes to protecting public lands and protecting our right to vote.
Thanks to the work of MCV, I know we're going to elect amazing candidates up and down the ballot and keep Montana the last best place. But MCV can't do it alone. They need the money to compete with out-of-state interests that would try to take our way of life and put it in the hands of the wealthy few. Thank you for your generosity tonight in supporting this important organization, and thank you to MCV for all of their great work.
I'll now keep leading the charge for you when I'm in the governor's office. We can't trust Greg Gianforte to protect our state's greatest resources. As governor, I'll be committed to working with Montana conservation voters to stand up for our clean air, our clean water, and our great outdoors. I'll bring people together to tackle the threat of climate change, and I'll stand up to special interests seeking to sell off our public lands to the highest bidder.
I'm so glad to be in this fight with MCV and all of you. Now, with a handful of days left until Election Day, we need each and every one of you to step up again. With your help, we can win back the land board and protect the things that make Montana special.
Working together, we will secure a cleaner, better future for our children and for our grandchildren.
Look, I'm a new dad. I have a 17-month-old daughter, and I think about the spot in the Little Belt Mountains where my dad taught me to fish, where his dad taught him. And I think about teaching my daughter to fish there too. Well, we're one election away from that not being able to happen. I'm running against one of the most extreme anti-public lands advocates in the history of Montana. The stakes of this race are real, and the work of organizations like MCV makes a real difference in fighting for, preserving, and protecting the Montana that we all care about. So I'm asking you tonight to dig deep, to do what you can, to give till it hurts, to make sure that MCV continues their good work protecting that which we all care about in our state.
As your senator, I'll keep working to expand renewable energy to create the jobs of the future and truly tackle climate change side by side with MCV. Thanks again for having me. Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you for your work.
Be safe, be well, and enjoy this great celebration.
Let's get this done.
And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care and good night.
Our thanks to Steve Bullock, Kathleen Williams, Bryce Bennett, Shane Morageau, Melissa Romano, Rafe Grable, and of course to Eddie Upshaw. We proudly stand behind MCV's endorsed candidates. We don't look at party affiliations. We do look at records and commitments and the strength of all candidates and their campaigns. And those who seek our endorsements have to undergo rigorous interviews with the MCV Action Fund. MCV recently also sent this endorsement guide. If you're a member, you should have got it in the mail. And to all of our members, it went and complete with regional inserts on some of the local races as well. And if you didn't get one of these, all of our endorsements can be found on our website. That's mtvoters.org/endorsements. They're all there. Our candidates mentioned the work that we do, and we do it with the help and support of all of you. Again, thank you. And if you can give any more to ensure that we can continue that work, please head over to mtvoters.org/donate. Okay, time for the next two raffle prizes. Christy McNeish is here.
All right.
Stirring the pot one more time. And our third ticket goes to Sandy Choate. There it is, right there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Sandy. Next ticket, number 4. This is our 7th position winner is Bill Dakin of Big Fork. Thank you, Bill. We appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right. If you are a fan of the hit reality TV show Top Chef, you are in for a treat this evening. Our guest presentation comes from Chef Doug Adams, a season 12 finalist on Top Chef Boston. Now the chef for Holler Hospitality, which includes the hip restaurants Holler and Bullard in Portland, Oregon. Doug Adams has deep roots here in Montana. And when we asked him to be part of this year's gala, he eagerly said yes and was planning to join us in Livingston. In lieu of that, we are pleased to present this Montana-inspired lesson for all of you.
Hi guys, it's Doug Adams. I'm at the Bullard Kitchen in Portland, Oregon, and I'm so happy to be helping out Montana conservation voters. I'm going to do a quick little demo today of something that reminds me of Montana. I was a Grizzly, U of M, and when I think of Montana, I think about fly fishing. So I have this beautiful rainbow trout. I got a fire going behind me, because we're going to do a dish that you could make really, really easily sitting around a campfire. So let's get going. It's very simple. We have trout, dill, a sweet yellow onion. I got some lemon, some cherry tomatoes, and some fennel. All this is local in Portland, but should be able to get it out there when the season's right. We're going to be cooking this in a cast iron pan, not over the grill. So I got a nice big cast iron pan. It's always a good thing to have, especially if you're a camper. I'm going to settle that right on the fire. Get it nice and even. Okay, so our fish. Rainbow trout. It's been cleaned, it's been scaled. I'm not going to take the time to stuff this trout because I really want this trout to cook pretty quick. I don't want to slow this down because I really like my trout super moist, and I find that the faster I cook it, the better it's going to be unless you're slow smoking it. So I'm going to give this a nice even seasoning of salt all along that fish. I'm also going to cook this with the head and the tail on. Give it a little pepper as well. Flip that guy over. So salt, pepper, inside and outside. And we're going to go in the pan. This is a beautiful rainbow trout. So my pan is pretty hot. I see movement in the olive oil, which is important, and I see just a little bit of smoke. Obviously there's smoke coming from the fire, but I want just a tiny bit of smoke coming from the oil. So that's great. I can hear it cooking. That's some moisture leaving the skin. That's what we want. We want a nice crispy skin. So while that's going, I'm going to clean up some fennel. Fennel is very classic with fish. It's aromatic and kind of cleansing. I'm just going to go nice thin slices. So we're going to cook this entire dish in this cast iron pan. Now I'm going to do my onion. I love Montana and I travel there often to fish. I fish the Bitterroot Valley or the Big Mo. It's so important that we protect those resources. My best buddy is a fly fishing guide out at Ranch and Rock Creek, and I get to spend a lot of time there, and it shows you how important that is when you get to see God's country in full force. I'm going to bring this over here so you guys can see this fish cooking in the pan. I'm going to add just a little bit more oil. This dish is all about the olive oil and lemon juice too. Very, very important. So as I'm cooking, I'm just going to make sure I'm not sticking. We're looking great. Beautiful. A little bit of movement is nice. Make sure everything is cooking nice and even. Okay, so back to our prep. We have some onion and some fennel. Just thin sliced. Nothing crazy. This is not a fine dining or fancy dish. This is just all about good flavors, which you want to eat around a campfire. Some cherry tomatoes. I'm not going to cut these guys. All I'm going to do is just take off the stem. So basically this dish, once we cook this trout, we're going to add our vegetables to kind of sear around the trout. And we're going to make a really super simple pan sauce. So I got a good amount of them. These are going to kind of break down in that pan, release some juices. It's going to make a really nice sauce with lemon juice and olive oil. This could be done prior if you're camping, just have it all ready to go. So, easy, easy. Just to get ahead, I'm going to cut my lemon. Let's go check our fish. Just ever so slightly. And now I'm going to flip my fish. I'll show you this again. So we got the beautiful crispy skin. Look at that. Cooking just where we want it. So now I'm going to add my vegetables. Tomatoes over here. Onions and fennel. And we're just going to let that go. So as you can tell, my fire isn't really hot. I'm not going crazy. I have some nice coals, almost like you were cooking on medium-high heat. So I like cooking the cast iron pan on the coals themselves instead of a ton of fire, because you can just control it a lot more easily. So we have some dill. Gotta have it with trout. It's my favorite thing in the world. Again, I'm not gonna go crazy and trim this up. Super duper nice. Take a little fennel fronds too, because it's super delicious. So I'm gonna season my vegetables as well. And stir it around. My cherry tomatoes are just starting to blister, which is what we want, and they're starting to release that beautiful juice. And our fish, we know, is cooking, and it's getting nice and smoky as well. Just gently moving this around. Feel like I should be sipping on a beer, or maybe some good bourbon. Hopefully after a day of a lot of cutthroat trout. Or brown trout. So we're almost there, which is great. I got my landing pad for my fish, which is also great. So we've been in the pan on that trout for about 7 minutes, which is a pretty good amount of time, 3.5 minutes. We got the backbone in that trout that needs to get to temperature too, so we're getting really close. Other great thing about not stuffing your trout is you can peek and see where the doneness is. So my pan is rocking, and I got a lot of residual heat around that pan. My fish is done. Oh, it smells so good. Reminds me of Montana. I'm just working with vegetables. I'm going to kind of systematically start to smash my little tomatoes a little bit as well. That's just releasing moisture. Really turning this into a sauce. Now while I'm still on the flame, I'm going to hit it with a nice big hit of lemon juice. One more for good measure. Beautiful. Now we're going to sauce our fish, and we're done. As you can see, this will take you 10 minutes around a campfire. Invest in a good cast iron pan because it will go a long way with your camping. As you can tell, I had 0 stick on my skin. That's because I've used this cast iron pan for a long time and taken really good care of it. So I'm just going to spoon this beautiful sauce all the way around this fish. What I love about trout, especially camping, it's so good for breakfast. You can throw some eggs on this. Cure the night before hangover. We do it for dinner. All right. Oh my God, it smells so delicious. And then we just have this dill and fennel. We're just kind of get it all over. Dill and trout is such a classic combination. Olive oil and lemon juice. This is could be cooking this in the Montana backcountry, but also straight out of an old school French cookbook, which is kind of funny. Depending on the time of year, if you found some beautiful morels while you were fishing, throw those in a little butter, add them to this dish, you'd be in heaven. So there it is, guys. You can see it's just swimming in this beautiful sauce of the tomato juice and olive oil. Super duper quick dish, rainbow trout. I'm so pumped to be helping out. I can't wait to get up to Montana and spend some time with Bozeman, and hope to say hi to all y'all. Enjoy.
There you go. Thank you to Chef Doug Adams. If you like that presentation, and if you're a ticket winner, you might pick his prize, which is a private online cooking lesson for you and 5 friends. Should be a lot of fun. Okay, Christy, we are ready for our next 2 tickets. Our 6th position winner is...
Aaron, would you like to draw this one?
How did you draw?
I just put my hand in.
Put your hand in and let's see what we got. Yeah. All right. Next ticket goes to Paul Dinkins of Bozeman. Paul, there you go. Congratulations. Appreciate that. And our 5th position winner is at random, Annie Choate. Congratulations to Annie and Paul. All right. In April, MCV launched something new, our own weekly podcast. Each week, Deputy Director Whitney Taney and Political Director Jake Brown and I bring a guest onto our show. It's called MCV Cast. We talk about the Venn diagram of conservation and politics. We cover headlines. We keep listeners up to date on our work. And just as important, we have a lot of fun. Each week, our show picks up more steam. In fact, we are Montana's only conservation podcast. And here are some highlights from the past 23 episodes of MCV Cast.
This is a zombie pipeline that they've killed it before, but it's coming back to life. It keeps on trying to come back to life.
Instead of assuming that development always leads to the best economic outcome, we need to start to value those things about public lands that are important to our communities today.
Everybody has to find their place to not only vote, which is critically important for everybody, but also pitch in and help and raise money or make phone calls and do the kinds of things that are going to make a big difference.
The consequences of a mine like this mean management in perpetuity. It's not going to be a matter of closing the door, walking away, doing high fives, cashing the copper check and walking away. No, there's going to be management there because water moves.
I think there's a bit of a reappreciation of the outdoors that we need to capitalize on and foster.
If you care about conservation, you need to be caring about the census.
A substantial amount of our funds are designated to go to public lands and to make sure that Montanans can continue to enjoy our public lands.
It is a gigantic win in a really uncertain time.
But the Attorney General is the one whose job it is in the Constitution to go out and make sure that the values protected in our Constitution are reflected in our state.
Every day, all day long, from the moment you wake up in the morning and turn your lights on and make your hot coffee to the time you go to bed at night, you are interacting with the PSC.
We need a governor who's going to stand up and say no to those ideas and be a champion for our Montana way of life and our Montana quality of life.
Well, we have been consulted in the traditional way, meaning we haven't heard, excuse the language.
Christy, have you subscribed to MCV Cast?
Absolutely, haven't missed an episode.
All right. You can subscribe to MCV Cast anywhere you find your podcasts. We are on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, or you can head over to our website, mtvoters.org/podcast, and there you can listen to all of our back episodes. And stay tuned for our next episode. It is due out tomorrow evening. And we have 2 more prizes to give away. Christy.
Okay.
This is for our 4th position winner. Our 7th ticket, and that goes to Keegan Eisenstadt of Missoula. Keegan, congratulations. There it is, just so you guys can see it. And our 3rd position winner is suspense. Goes to CB Pearson of Missoula. Yay! Our friend CB. Thank you, CB. We appreciate that very much. Now, we're going to catch up with MCV's political director, Jake Brown, for our final guest presentation this evening.
My name is Jake Brown. I'm the political director here at MCV. It's my job to make sure that we elect as many conservation champions as we can this November in what will be one of the most important elections of our lifetime. It's also my job to introduce our next speaker, who was actually a conservation champion that we helped elect last year, 2019, in Billings for the Billings City Council. She's dynamic. She's the future of our movement. I'm pleased to introduce Kendra Shaw, Billings City Councilwoman.
Hi, I'm Kendra Shaw, and I was elected to Billings City Council last year with the help of MCV. Thank you so much for letting me come and chat about a little bit about my candidacy and then about just how incredibly important it is for organizations like Montana Conservation Voters to really be putting time and energy into these local races. And I'm going to give you an example of an exciting project that's coming up in Billings. So just to let you know a little bit about me, I grew up in Montana, went to West, then went to the University of Montana in Missoula. My husband and I got married, and then we left the country for a number of years. We lived in Japan, we lived in Australia, we traveled abroad. We came back to start a small business, and we ran a fair trade importing business for a couple of years until I got into graduate school at the University of Michigan, which took us across the country. And while we were there, and I was studying writing, that's my background as I'm a grant and copywriter. I was studying writing, we had our first daughter, and at that point, really, the lure of Montana, this beautiful state that we'd grown up in, that we could maybe raise our children in, was so just incredibly powerful that we packed up the U-Haul and came back to Billings. That was about 7 years ago now. And my experience in Billings as an adult was very eye-opening. I saw a lot of things I hadn't noticed as a kid. I started to realize that a lot of the decisions the city was making weren't leading it in the direction that I necessarily really wanted it to go in. And so I started kind of putting those pieces together through a number of different avenues of starting to look into all these groups that were working on projects I was really passionate about. And it really led me to realizing that so many of the local decisions that are made in our city are made by city council. And these issues really affect quality of life in all of our Montana cities. And I started to see, if a city like Missoula, for example, spends some of its federal funding on buses, their bus system's a lot better than Billings is if we put that money into highways. So just those choices in terms of what is the city prioritizing and what is the city council prioritizing? Are we prioritizing conservation and getting more green space and making sure our cities are pedestrian and bike friendly? Or are we not prioritizing those things? And if you don't have a majority on the local city council, a lot of really cool projects end up going by the wayside. So the one I'm really excited to share with you about is that Billings is in the process of planning for and has been saving for years a new water treatment plant on the west end. The really exciting thing about this project is that Public Works has come to City Council and said, we don't want this just to be a water treatment plant that's a reservoir and just has a big fence around it and is blocked off. We have an idea for a really exciting, hybrid kind of park reservoir model, which would be a massive campus of trails and maybe sandy beaches and reservoirs that could be accessed by non-motorized, canoes and kayaks and all of those things, and picnic shelters for families. We could really make this a real jewel for Billings. And seeing that project and just the incredible importance of it on the docket has made me just realize once again, if we don't have a majority of people who prioritize that, who say, that really matters. We want to make that land a recreation destination, not just for people in Billings, but for all of Montana. But City Council is the one here who's going to have to figure out how do we come up with the money to make sure that we can do that for the public. So if you don't have a city council or a local government that really cares about those issues, they'll just say, well, it's fine. We'll just do it the old traditional way, and no one needs to access it, or that's cheaper. But that doesn't necessarily lead to better quality of life for people. It doesn't necessarily lead to better taking care of the environment and all of those things. So it's been really exciting for me to get to see, all of the ways, and every week we get to make decisions like this. And then these really big projects that are happening in every major city all across Montana. And the city councils are really the ones who are saying, yes, we're going to put money toward this, or no, we're not. And that, for our citizens, is whether you have a new amazing park or not, whether we prioritize taking care of the river or not. So they're big decisions that really affect quality of life. And so I'm just incredibly grateful that Montana Conservation Voters was able to come alongside me and help me as a no-name candidate, help me run for my first office. And I think that really went a long way. And now I'm just excited I get to work with them going into the future and advancing these goals we all care about. So thank you so much for listening, and I just want to reiterate that truly the money that gets poured into MCV, that they put into getting local candidates elected and statewide candidates too, it really makes a big difference, and it will going forward for our kids who are going to grow up in these cities. So thank you very much.
It is time for our final two raffle prizes of the evening, and here I want to say thanks again to everyone who generously provided these prizes, and thanks to everyone who bought tickets. Again, hundreds of you did. We sold them all, and they're all in the bucket. They all go to a good cause. And with that, good luck. Christy, let's give this another shot.
Good luck, everybody.
This is our second position ticket, and that means that you'll get the second choice of prizes after the next. And this prize goes to David
Genter.
David Genter. Thank you very much, David.
David.
There we go. Congratulations. And you can consider this our grand prize, because the winner of this ticket will draw first from our collection of prizes. And the name on the ticket is Dave Tazik of Erie, Colorado.
Congratulations.
There you go, Dave. Appreciate all of that. Thank you. Congratulations, and we'll be in touch. We have one final video presentation this evening, and perhaps it's our most important. We want to share with you the mission of Montana Conservation Voters and the MCV Education Fund, and the impact your generosity has on the critical work that we do, protecting our environment, our climate, and our public lands. Connect, protect, elect. This is the motto of MCV. 3 simple words that summarize our mission. Montana Conservation Voters protects our climate, our clean air and water, our public lands, our communities, and future generations by supporting leaders who fight for conservation and by holding accountable leaders who do not. We put our mission to the test last December after we had enough lip service from Senator Steve Daines and his history of failing to fully fund the Land and Water Conservation Fund. MCV was the first conservation organization to bring tough accountability to the airwaves.
So when Senator Steve Daines promised to support Montana's public lands, but then shortchanged them by hundreds of millions, Montanans noticed.
Fast forward several months, Senator Daines, under lots of pressure from MCV and the people he serves, introduced the Great American Outdoors Act. Our accountability worked, and thanks to our entire congressional delegation, now full funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund is law of the land. For the MCV Education Fund, our mission is to engage all Montanans and their communities by empowering them to protect our clean air, clean water, public lands, and voting rights through education, mobilization, and the power of grassroots advocacy. This is work we take great pride in doing, and we still have a long way to go. This year, we teamed up with the Forward Montana Foundation to engage young people on the issue of climate change in a video for our congressional delegation.
I'm Helena, I'm from Billings, Montana, and I think climate change is important because it affects what kind of recreational activities future generations will be able to experience.
My name's Gillian, I'm from Missoula, and I'm here today to talk about public lands. Now, Montana has 38 million acres of public lands that provide over $7 billion a year in revenue for the state.
The MCV Ed Fund also called thousands of Montanans this summer to educate them about the dangers of transferring management of federally owned lands to states, a first step towards selling them off. And we worked with former Governor Brian Schweitzer on another message for young people.
If young people would vote in this country, if young people got involved, then we'd have people who are saying, we need to protect our air and water for the next 200 years, not for the next 20. We need to protect public lands so that we continue to access them for the rest of our lives.
We do all of this work knowing there's nothing more important than fighting for the future of the world we share. We don't just talk the talk of demanding clean air, clean water, healthy wildlife, access to public lands, vibrant communities, racial justice, and voting rights. We do our best to walk the walk. And we can only be effective with your financial support. That means this work is your work too, and we appreciate all of our members, our donors, and our supporters to have you by our side as we plow ahead in the uncertain weeks and months ahead. As MCV's board chair said earlier, we'll be leaving it all on the field with this election. That's because our democracy and our very planet is at stake. We need accountability in our government now more than ever. That's MCV's commitment to you. Thank you again for helping us connect, elect, and protect. And that does it for us this evening. I just got the numbers in. We hit our fundraising goal. So thanks to you all. Half of that, by the way, was matched by an anonymous donor. To that anonymous donor, thank you very much. And thank you for helping us get there. Of course, our work never ends, which means our need for your financial support doesn't stop here. And to that end, our most important website out of all of them I shared tonight is once again, mtvoters.org/donate. On behalf of all of us here at MCV, the MCV Education Fund, the MCV Action Fund, and the directors of our boards, thank you. And our deep thanks and a big salute to our legacy sponsor this evening, Mr. Jim Pozowitz. Be in touch and don't forget to vote. Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. Our planet needs MCV's endorsed champions. And with that, good night.